Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Rossi, Chairman of the Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission. I would like to call this regular meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Will clerk please call the roll?
Mike Florio,
I'm here.
Ellen Dahlgren. Here. Dylan Walter,
Here.
Jay Mandel. Zach Fluid,
Here.
Ed Alvarino,
Here.
Chinzia Lettieri. Here. Bo Clark,
Here.
Robert Corson,
Here.
Brian Pellegrini,
Here.
Susan Marcus. Here. And Michael Rossi.
Here.
Can,
Okay.
can you turn the camera on? I can't see anything.
Camera. Okay, we have one seat to fill, so Brian, it's your turn to be appointed.
Thank you.
For Jay Mandel. And we have a quorum, of course. I have no comments tonight. That makes it simpler. Minutes. Item 3, review and approval of the January 13th meeting minutes. Otherwise known as a disaster.
I'll make a motion to approve those, sir.
Okay,
I'll second it.
second. Okay, any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to amend the minutes, because I was actually I was joined by Zoom, but it says that I'm absent.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to amend the minutes to add Chinzia.
And I'll second the amended motion.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any motion carries, thank you. Okay, we have our public hearing. Ellen, can you read the notice of public hearing?
Yes. Town of Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Monday, February 10th, 2025 at 7 p.m. to consider the following. ECC 2421 special exception to permit a liquor store pursuant to section 27.2.6, 26, excuse me, or Clinton zoning regulations at 327 East Main Street, map 85, block 69, block 121, zone B4, applicant Pettis Engineering LLC. BZC 24-23 application for zoning text amendment of section 27.2.17 to permit clinics as a special exception in IDZ zoning district at 11 Killingworth Turnpike, map 43, block 45, lot 73, zone IDZ, applicant William R. Sweeney as follows. BZC 25-1 application for zoning text amendment of the zoning map to permit an affordable housing floating zone district pursuant to section 21.3.2 at 92 High Street, map 44, block 26, lot 8A, zone R20, applicant Thomas A. Stevens and Associates Inc. At said hearing, all persons will have the right to be heard. The applications and correspondence are available for public inspection at https://clintoncity.portal.opengov.com/records/200889. Anyone requiring special accommodation to participate in the meeting should contact the land use office at 860-669-6133. Michael Rossi, Chairman, Town of Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you very much. Okay, the first item, planning and zoning 24-21, which is the 327 East Main Street application. We've been asked by the applicant to continue this to March. So we will not be having this hearing tonight.
Need a motion.
So I need a motion to continue.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any motion carries. Okay. Now we move to item B, or B, planning and zoning 24-23, application for zoning text amendment of section 27.2.17 permit clinics as a special exception in the IDZ zone. At 11 Killingworth Road. The applicant is here, I believe. Would you like to give us a presentation tonight, sir?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Terrific. For the record, my name is Bill Sweeney. I'm a land use attorney and a partner at the law firm of Tobin Carberry in New London. I want to thank you for the courtesy extended to allow me to appear virtually. I am battling the flu right now, and I am quite a bit under the weather, so I appreciate you letting me call in rather than be there in person. I'm sure you'd rather have it that way as well. I have an application that I submitted on behalf of Greylock Property Group and its affiliate, Indian River Shops. Ken Navarro might join us in a second. Ken's the principal of both of them. And as the chairman indicated, this application is pretty straightforward. It is a modification of section 27.217, which is your use table for non-residential uses. And specifically, it is to permit clinics as a special exception use in the interchange development zone. And I think you should have a copy of the actual proposed text amendment as well. Effectively, what we're doing is right now, hospitals, clinics, extended care facilities, long-term facilities, nursing and rest homes, sanatoriums, and immediate care facilities licensed by the state of Connecticut are all lumped together in a single category. And they're allowed in some zones by special exception and not in others. The change is to pull clinics out of that group of sort of medical related uses and allow them in the same zones that they're allowed right now, but add in the IDZ by special exception. My client, as you know, is the developer of the former high school here in Clinton. And as you know, Indian River Shops has been a real success of a commercial project. I was here before you back in December before the holidays. Phase 1 of the project is complete. We're moving into phase 2, and we're signing up a variety of new tenants for the shopping center. We've gotten, as I told you back in December, we've received a lot of interest from walk-in clinics to be a potential use in the shopping center. We think that would be a very amenable use, a use that would fit in with the shopping center and would create the vitality and the activity that I think that the Plan of Conservation and Development seeks in the IDZ district. As you know, back in 2020, we came before this board for the original approvals for the shops at Indian River. And at that time, we were required to provide a narrative or a statement of uses that listed every potential use that would be allowed in the district. The architect for the project and myself sort of tried to get everything in the kitchen sink. Unfortunately, we did not include clinics in that use. And so when we got this interest over the fall from some clinic operators, we spoke to Abby Pearsall, your director, and she pointed out that, in fact, in the use tables, clinics and in those medical uses are not permitted in the IDZ. So rather than just simply coming in and adding that use, we first had to start with a text amendment, and that's what we're here for tonight. I think I think there is a good reason to add this. I think we've tried to narrowly tailor it. The commission had indicated its general support for the concept in December, but wanted us to carve it away from hospitals and some of the more significant medical care facilities, and we've done that with the proposed amendment. If this amendment is approved, we'll need to come back before you to modify our 2020 special exception to actually add clinics as a use in our project narratives and statement. And so we'll need to come back and modify that special exception. So tonight is really just the first step to allow us to do that. And finally, I would just say tonight, and again, I'm trying to be as brief as possible. We feel that adding clinics, again, adds to the diversity of allowed uses in the shopping center. You see these types of walk-in clinics throughout shopping centers and retail plazas throughout Connecticut. It's something that I think is commonplace. It's something that fits in And I think it'll be a good addition to the shops at Indian River. So I would urge you to support it tonight. I believe it's consistent with your plan of conservation development. And if you do choose to act on it tonight, the only other comment I would have is I'd ask for you to make sure that you make an effective date if you accept that change to the regulations. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone from the commission have a question for the applicant at this time?
No, sir, he was he elaborated the last time.
Any,
My only question actually is probably directed at Abby rather than the applicant. Does this wording limit it to clinics for, treatment of human beings as opposed to veterinary clinics?
It does not, but animal veterinary uses are listed as separate uses, so it's inferred in this that this is intended for human treatment.
That's correct. You have a definition of clinic in your regulations right now, which is an establishment where patients are admitted for examination and treatment by one or more physicians, dentists, psychologists, or social workers, and where patients are not usually lodged overnight. And as Abby said, you have a different definition for veterinarian clinics.
I have a question. Is there a difference between a walk-in medical and a methadone clinic?
methadone clinic?
Yeah.
By our definition, there would not be a difference. That use, if treatment is being provided in accordance with the definition in our regulations, that is a use that would be considered to fall under clinic.
I can tell you definitively, and obviously, if you were to approve allowing this, we'd have to come back for a special exception to allow this to be implemented, and that would be, we would certainly agree to a restriction on that if that's appropriate. We have no interest in doing anything like drug rehab. This is specifically for walk-in urgent care, which is what the demand is, and that's what fits with the overall sort of goals and aesthetics that we're trying to promote at the shops in Indian River. So I'd be happy to, as you know, when we get to that point, if there's any concern whatsoever over that, you know, we can condition the special exception accordingly.
As you said, that's really for the special exception, not for this.
Correct. I can't even come in and ask for the special exception until this is changed. So this is, like I said, step one. You don't give up any control. Step two is to come in with a specific, the specific change to our narrative and talk about how it fits into the overall development plan. It's really a modification of the 2020 special exception.
Okay, since there's no comments, no more questions from the commission, I want to give an opportunity to anyone from the public to speak. If you would, please identify yourself for the record and go ahead and ask us or tell us what you have as information.
Thank you very much. My name is Tom Welch. I live at 101 Grove Street here in Clinton. And I'm in favor of this application, but I have another question. Many of us in town have been hoping for a long time that we could get a hotel at the Indian River shops. And I'd just like to make sure that if this clinic is approved, it doesn't go in the location where the hotel has been, set aside, room has been set aside.
So that would really be more appropriate when we get to the special exception. If this gets approved, then when they come back, because that would be part of their site plan and changes to the original site plan.
Excuse you,
Mike,
Mr.
we could interject. You did address the location of this.
He said it's going in the mattress factory.
Correct.
Mattress, yeah.
Then there's no
Tom,
problem.
it's going in the mattress factory that went out of business.
There's been areas set aside for the hotel.
Yeah,
If and
that's
ever we
a
get
whole
one.
different.
Right,
Yeah.
but he identified it in his prior comments.
Prior, yeah.
Of this.
Thank you.
I can assure you that we have no intention of replacing the hotel. In fact, I know Mr. Navarro is in discussions right now. We just talked earlier in January about a potential hotel flag. So that is ongoing, and that's absolutely remains our primary focus, is to get that hotel tenant into the project. Again, this is just the text amendment. If this text amendment is approved, then we would come back with details on the clinic proposal.
Thank you.
Can we make that's good.
Okay, well, I was letting the public, is there anybody else from the public who would like to speak? Okay, hearing none, go ahead, Ed.
Well, I would like, if it's okay, to, make a motion to approve.
We have to make. a
Well,
motion
we have
close
to
the
close the public
first.
hearing.
What? We have to close the public.
I know that, but I'm just saying, I'm headed in that direction.
Okay,
Can we?
you can,
we
Abby's got language for you to read.
All right, can we do that? Can we close the public, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries, thank you.
Vice Chair.
We now go to item 4C, which is the amendment to the zoning regulation for a floating zone district per section 21.3.2. This one has also asked us to continue it to March. So I would like a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second.
She's not fast tonight.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any? Motion carries. It's easy. Okay, staff reports. Leave it to you, Abby.
Sure. So, with your permission, I will leave off on PZC 24, 21, and 22 for 327 East Main, since that would come after the public hearing and they're not in the room tonight. Same thing with 25-1 for 92 High. Let's wait till they're here. You do have my stuff. If anybody in the public is listening, those staff reports are part of the record. You can find them online or call our office if you want to take a look. The next staff report is for PCC 2423 for the text amendment that Attorney Sweeney just presented. Yeah, as you know, we've kind of gone through some preliminary discussion on this at the non-binding conversation with the commission, but based on the general consensus of the commission, we took the liberty of drafting, putting together a draft motion to approve. So that is before you, essentially with some findings. There are no conditions that we're recommending on this. The text that has been proposed is very clear. It would just take that hospital and clinic use where it's currently combined and separate them out into two, allowing it by special exception in the IDZ. There's no other place that clinics would be differently treated from how they are in the regulations. One specific change. So I provided some draft findings relative to meeting notice provisions, consistency with the zoning regulations, and consistency with the plan of conservation and development for you to consider. And then I know Attorney Sweeney mentioned an effective date. I put in sort of for a cushion, March 7th. We could also likely get us to a February 28th effective date, but we do need a 15-day window for appeals after the publication. So we really do use that time. So it'll just depend on where we publish if we are going in that direction.
Okay. Thank you. And then, you want to talk about the thriving communities?
Sure, yeah, I can go through the other pieces too as well. So thriving communities, Lori was gonna pull up, this was something that was on your agenda for the last meeting that you didn't get a chance to take a look at. For folks who recall, we had been working with Westbrook, Old Saybrook, and Middletown through the river, through River Cog, to take a look at transit-oriented development around our train stations, bus hubs, and sort of look at how we connect things through. The update here is really just some visuals and some other pieces that you should have received this report already, but we wanted to let you know where things stand. The final report is a little bit in flux with funding and where things are going to be going in terms of finishing out federal projects at this time, but I did, if Lori, you can scroll down just a little bit, I wanted to give you sort of an idea of they've identified for us some opportunity areas, and they're not ones that are necessarily a surprise. They show up in our planning documents. They have listened to the comments from Clinton to make sure that what they are sort of saying in terms of potential future project areas is consistent with what we've said as a community. So they really heard you when you were talking about really needing this to reflect Clinton's priorities. So some of those, the pink arrow for Main Street enhancements, that's where we have sidewalk projects either underway or gearing up. You can see the former Unilever property as a potential catalytic area. That sort of Stevens Road corner and some, retrofit and redevelopment is highlighted for focus there. You've already seen some projects come through that this commission has approved. So really trying to reflect some of that. Having those in this plan hopefully sets us up for future federal funding opportunities. And so that's the reason for making sure they're consolidated under this header as well. So those are some of the things that we were taking a look at. There's also some ideas for infill. And places where, you know, we have perhaps underutilized properties or things where we have opportunities where the soils might be appropriate and we can connect them into pedestrian resources that then connect us into the bus system, the trolley going down toward, you know, toward the harbor, into the train stations. We're really trying to say how many different ways can we get people from point A to point B. And so some of those infill opportunities, you know, there's discussion about, are there openings, at the CVS property, that the new CVS property, not the old one? Is there more parking there than we may need right now? And is there an opportunity there? Across the street from there, are there some opportunities to think about, you know, sort of that, across from the old library going forward, kind of, you know, some of the buildings there that may need some help. So some potential there, looking at, next to the old plumbing supply store, looking at that grass lot that's open right now, you know, kind of what some of those potential opportunities could be for folks. And then as you kind of go farther out, looking at the Route 1 corridor as you head west toward Madison. So all of those things, were sort of considered and prioritized a little bit because of, some of the soil conditions and opportunities we may have for new development. So that's the idea there. Again, some of this I'm skipping ahead a little bit here. But there, you know, again, corridor retrofits, where can we fit more pedestrian amenities, you know, down the road? How can we connect in if there's development at the former Clinton Nurseries property? How can we connect into the old trolley line and make sure that there's pedestrian and bike connectivity there? So some good opportunities, and then making sure that we're thinking about our harbor and connecting downtown with the harbor in a way that really kind of creates this holistic destination. When people think of Clinton and Anchorage to the Sound, we want them to think of ways they can get around and access our resources. So those are the kinds of things that are in there. You have a presentation, take a look at it. If you have questions, if you have further comments, anything else that you'd like to see happen in this area, this is an opportunity in here to sort of reiterate that. This is one of the documents that they're drawing on for the POCD, so you'll see these things again. There's some of them are even in the harbor management plan in terms of some of this connectivity. So we're trying to just be consistent between the different planning efforts that we've taken. That's that one. The next thing under staff reports is a mapping projects update. This is just to let you folks know that some of the stuff that we are working on in the office, and we'll do a little bit more of that when we get the department overview that we showed to town council. But this one is, I am working with our GIS consultant from Ty and Bond to update our zoning map. The last physical copy of the map that was updated was done in 2015. That's the last one that our chair signed. It's time. And so we're going to make sure that we have a good, solid document that folks can use. Right now, our official zoning map is reflected in our online geographic information systems. But for many folks, they want to see the map physically and be able to, you know, sort of roll it up and put it on the wall and all that kind of stuff. So that's coming as well. So that'll be the next thing we work on. We're also doing a project to hopefully put address points down on a map to make things like units in multi-tenant buildings a little bit easier to find, both for us and first responders, and really try to upgrade our GIS, our geographic information systems, in a way that is a little bit more useful, and make sure that our personal data and our assessors data and our individual pieces of information about our properties is easy to find. And that will help us as we go forward with economic development initiatives and other things as well.
One comment about addresses is that there are a number of roads where the odd numbers and the even numbers don't align at all. And it can be awfully hard to find an address when, you know, the two sides of the street have no relationship whatsoever to each other. And it's my understanding that that's the assessor's office that's in charge of that. not the code
Those
office.
assignments, and some of them have existed for so long that there's these gaps that they're trying to infill, and then
You know,
it's, yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's, you know, it's sort of like the cow paths in Boston kind of thing, right? Where things kind of came up in different orders, and yeah, it's definitely, we're sort of working with what we have. If we ever find a piece of property that's big enough for a new subdivision, we'll make sure that they're all in order and kind of have some room.
Well, I mean, it's almost worth it if you could, you know, offer people certain payment to buy new stationery or something. Maybe we could straighten it out.
Change all your bills, yeah.
May I? As a first responder, I've been in the fire department for 20 years, and we go to a lot of places. A lot of homes don't even have addresses, and trying to find them at 3 o'clock in the morning in the rain, looking for an address.
It's an emergency.
It'll say this is going like 122, the next one is 101. And they're so bad. I don't know if there's anything that we can do to address that, but
Well, I do believe there's a town regulation
they don't have it.
that they have to have you have to have your, address visible from the street.
Go find it.
I know, well, that doesn't mean people follow it, but technically it just needs to be
It's-
enforced.
It is. For 28 years, I drove the ambulance, fire trucks, and you go, you can't find these houses.
Right.
The police are looking, we got the,
But it's 120 on one side and 250. on
yeah,
the other.
exactly what.
55 on the other.
And one of the things that we'll be doing is we haven't started this part of the project yet, but as we get into it, we'll be having conversations with both chiefs, with Mike Neff, and making sure that the data reflects what we need it to, both to be in ArcGIS, but also into CAD, and making sure that the system that the responders are using is tied in, so we don't create any discrepancies
It
between
is
them.
difficult.
So and then the question will become, because the contracted sort of scope of work would be to put sort of the address in the centroid of the building, or where the unit exists in the
Yeah.
building, and one of the questions will be, do we need something for certain addresses that is at the point where the driveway leaves the road, so that people can find it that way?
That's another thing.
So-
You got different addresses, like Jamaican Lane, when you got
Yep,
many
yep.
different homes. Baxter Lane, you got many different homes, they're not marked,
Mhm.
and you're looking, and and people.
So the simple ones we'll be able to do
Yeah.
really easily, but with the more complicated ones, we will have working sessions where people are able to.
Cowbell
give us
Road
feedback.
is horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the worst. North High is bad.
Susan, go
I'm
ahead.
also gonna piggyback on this, because in fact, my road, my address is not a road, it's a walk, and so, firefighters have a hard time finding us. But apparently, there's a system, I don't know a lot about it, but just where you're using, different points, so you're gonna get exactly the spot. It might not be 22 Main Street, it might be something else, but you can actually identify it.
Right.
And I'm wondering if that's something that we can look into, because it would be the most efficient way. It takes you exactly to where that spot is, rather than whatever address may or may not be posted.
I think that's what the GIS.
That's.
So, and what we'll do is we're gonna be coordinating with all of the different users throughout town for the data, to make sure that whatever we are producing is something that is useful, that is helpful, so. So it's not a small project, it's gonna take up some significant time, but I think it will be helpful.
Can I say something to, remember I told you what, because I'm on Rivercar, we brought that up. We brought up about the train station. I said, we have a train station that since COVID, people, like people can't go to New York with their grandkids and come back. If you wanted to take your son or something down to New York, from our train station, you go down, it doesn't come back. You gotta go to New Haven. So if people wanna go to New York for the day, they have to drive down to New Haven, so you get back to Clinton, in other words, come back to New Haven, then drive home.
What about the
You know, so it's ridiculous, and I brought that up to the Rivercar. And they were quite receptive, and they're supposed to be working on getting back. I said, go there in the morning, it's disgusting. We spent millions of dollars, bringing all these apartments in, and we got 80 empty spaces. We got 80 spaces that are empty. People, you can't get on a train and go to New York and go work overtime and come back. Or whatever you work, you just can't. You gotta leave from New Haven, which everybody knows going to New Haven is quite a fiasco. Going down there in the morning, so.
So instead of taking the shoreline east, you want the metro?
Well,
North to
you wanna take the train, you wanna take the train.
People are
I could,
careful.
just, I think he's explained, like saying, like, cause I've actually encountered this myself for Bridgeport,
Yeah.
there's like the concert venue in Bridgeport. Increasing the frequency of Shoreline East, so that way you can hop a train, go to a concert till 11 PM.
Yes,
And take the train back to Clinton, and
Mhm.
instead of having to go to New Haven again and then drive all the way back, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what you're kind of getting at, something like that, yeah.
we,
There's like two
Pre-COVID,
connections a day, that's
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
Pre-COVID,
it's just not gonna happen.
we had pre-COVID, it was.
Frequent.
allowing
free.
those
Very
kind of things, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so some of that, there's legislative priorities, there's rail company sort of negotiations, there's arguments about which density drives stops and frequency and all that kind of stuff. So some of this private communities work that we talked about includes some of those similar, recommendations. The P O C D will, Rivercog is obviously working on it and is sort of trying to boost, service. But I think there's a wide recognition that people, there is a demand. And the question is, how will the collective we pay for upgrades to that kind of service?
Thank you.
Let's see, all right, so the regulation committee report, so as folks, many of you were in the room when we talked about the next staff report for folks who don't have the agenda in front of them. Updates to section 17 in the zoning regulations. This is the flood section of our regulations, where we were talking about the definition for market value and how that affects determinations that we make about substantial improvement or damage when folks have to repair, replace, modify 50%, or they're doing work where the value is more than 50% of the value of the structure they're working on in the floodplain. They're obligated to bring that structure into compliance with FEMA standards. One of the things that Dylan brought up and the regulations committee met on was this notion of expanding our definition of market value to allow folks to not just take the assessed value of the property, which we currently use. We take the assessor's cards and typically that is lower sometimes than what market is dictating. The assessor's card would be the default. But the next opportunity would be to add in the ability for somebody to bring in an independent appraisal from a professional appraiser, to say, okay, here is the value of just the structure, not the land. You don't get to count that too. And if you scroll all the way down to the end of this, I put in just some draft language. There should be something at the very end of this document, with some little red text for you. Some of those slides are things that we
Go
talked
back
about.
down to those comments. Go down.
Oh, I had done that quick search to see who does what in their regulations, just to say, hey, is this something that's consistent with what other people are doing in our area or along the shoreline or not? So this was just a quick snapshot of, it's kind of a mixed bag. There are folks who only use the assessor. There's plenty who use the appraised value. There's some people who only use the appraised value. And if folks don't have anything else, they just accept the assessors. So this would be in line with what we see from other folks. It may, for some people, allow them to do a little bit more work before they have to come into compliance with FEMA. For other folks, it may not make a difference. For others, they may say, we're gonna bring this appraisal in, and they give us the appraisal, and on the building permit, they get to do what they want, but then they have a tax appeal, and then they say, the assessor goes, but wait a minute, you told us you were valued way up here. So, people have to think carefully about using it. But it's not, like I said, it's consistent with FEMA, guidelines and regulations, and it's something that, we've heard from some members of the commission that would perhaps help some of the residents in town, do some work on properties, certainly not avoid the FEMA regulations, but have more flexibility for if they've done a kitchen remodel and then their furnace goes, they're not automatically in that potential, need to elevate. So that's something that is out there. There is a balance to that with the resiliency conversation. So that's kind of what the commission would need to wrestle with. The question before you now is, because we've taken up our Thursdays with our POCD meetings, we don't have a lot of regulations committee meetings. So I talked to the doctor and we talked about having this conversation here of whether or not we'd like this to come forward for a commission sponsored text amendment to the regulations and go through that public notice process and have this conversation where members of our community can weigh in. So.
I think we're at that point. I think that the regulations committee has done a good job with this, and I think it's ready. So I for one would like to see it come forward.
Good. Any other comments or any other
To make a
support?
motion request.
We would need a motion eventually, yeah. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I would. I'd like to make a motion to bring the potential to amend section 17.2.29. The definition shown of market value. I'd like to bring that to public hearing for a change to amend the zoning regulations.
We have a second?
I'll second it, as recommended,
Yeah,
Yes.
whatever is necessary in terms of order two.
okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I would listen, and this will be for March and,
Big meeting. All right. And then the last piece here, I just wanted to let you know that, so I had gone to the town council meeting for, their last morning meeting to give a quick department overview. All the department heads are going forward to town council to have a conversation just to help them get to know us and make sure folks are familiar with the work that we do, especially as we head into budget season. So I have the presentation here. It's up to you in terms of time, if you want to see where we were kind of summarizing things for folks or not. So I'll leave that to you. But we did try to give kind of a snapshot of all of the various things that we do and just sort of the volume that comes through the office. I think sometimes, it's a small office, but a lot gets done. And we're pretty proud of the staff that we have, and folks do a really, really great job of keeping things moving in town. So I'm happy to share it. I can email it out, or we can move on. It's up to you.
can you email it out?
I can. Yep.
We'll do that.
I think that makes the discussion more productive.
And then we might just go, have it again next month. If we
Yep, and
have
if there's
few more
follow up or anything else, absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Nice job, man.
Okay, new business, there is none, so that makes that item easy. Old business. 7A is continued, 7B is continued. We get to 7C, which is,
Motion,
you're gonna make a motion?
I am.
Okay, go ahead.
I move to approve the proposed changes to the section 27.2.17 of the Clinton zoning regulations as drafted in application PZC 24-23 with an effective date of March 7th, 2025, and adopt the following findings of fact. 1, the public hearing for the proposed text amendments to section 27.2.17 of the Clinton zoning regulations met the notice requirements in section 4 of the Clinton zoning regulations and CGS 8-7D. 2, the proposed amendments are consistent with section 1.4 purpose of the Clinton zoning regulations. And 3, the proposed amendment is consistent with the vision for mixed and complementary uses in the interchange planning focus area in the 2015 Plan of Conservation and Development.
Second?
You can second.
I'll second that motion. You stole my thunder.
That guy.
I had it right here.
Jack got the second.
No, he didn't.
Okay. So,
Who's slow now?
any further discussion?
Yeah, but.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, the motion carried. Thank you, everyone. That was easy. Okay, and item D is also continued, so we're now to committee reports. So that gets us to the P O C D subcommittee report.
Well, we had a rather lengthy meeting on the 6th, but we covered a lot of ground. We're getting to the point where initially we had to do the branding and that sort of thing, and now we're starting to get into some real meat and potatoes of the plan and getting more specific direction. And I think that's moving along nicely, and I think that everybody on the commission, or the committee rather, was kind of joined together with our vision of things. And right now, it's kind of a broad scape. We mentioned into certain things, certain parts of the plan we want to have to be more broad and nondescript, and then as we get in other parts, we want to be more focused. So we're moving along with those ideas, and as we get closer, it's going to become, this is the easy part. As we get closer to a more defined, product, it becomes more difficult, and that's when the rest of the commission obviously will be involved with this as well, to produce the final document. So, but we're moving along rather quickly, I think.
And the surveys are coming into it.
Yes, the surveys, that's right. We had, close to 300 responses.
Yep.
So it was a huge increase. So that's good too. And most of the surveys came through with a similar thing. I mean, the downtown area seems to be the biggest focus. Followed by, light industrial uses and also, maintaining, connecting the harbor assets with downtown. So those ideas seem to be the primary focus of everybody that's responded, not everybody, the majority of people who responded. And I think the committee is really focused on those areas as well. I mean, those seem to be the primaries for economic development and also for protection of, the Clinton that we all know and love.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think things are moving well.
Thank you. Okay, the regulations committee, we basically just took care of that.
Mike, can I say something about POCD? We're gonna continue to push more applications out into socials. So if you can share on yours, the survey, that would be really helpful. A jump from 90 participants to 350 in the town is nice. But I do really feel like we need more people in Clinton to be involved in this. We don't want this to be 300 people sharing their vision. I would love at least 1,000 residents in Clinton. It's so crucial. It's so important that a lot of different diverse voices are heard in this.
It's so quick, it's not.
So quick, yeah, and that's what we've been hearing.
No,
It was
it's another
really
thing.
easy. So if you haven't shared it, please do. If you haven't taken it, please do. Dylan and I we're gonna work on something.
You're on your-
Cards, folks, I have more.
Cards, all the things. So please, get the word out, tell your friends, and let them know that their voice matters, in our vision for the next 10 years.
What if we have like a charrette or something like we used to have?
Well, that's part of the, long range plan, is that they will be doing those things.
Yeah, so April 8th, that's, I think right now it's April 8th with a backup of April 10th, the week before school break.
It was so popular, I mean,
Sure.
it's like. When you invite the town and people from the commission ask questions and you actually show them what we're doing. And you get in and they can fill out a form, they can, give all their insights. That's how we did the last one. I mean, people come in, right, Ellen?
Well, I was out of the country, so I didn't.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's coming, it's coming in April, we have it, and it's,
All right,
we're working on it.
So people come in and talk and, each, like people from the commission can explain to them and give them be informative with them and let them have a vision, get their insights, and then we can go through it, and then you'll have your 1,000.
Yeah. I would
We
love to
need
do that.
more than 300. I'm just saying, but it works. They are tremendous. We had several of them in the past, and there's. And each table would, give an insight, like somebody with the harbor or restaurants, or, whatever they want, you talk to people, the train station. There's, just,
Everyone has a unique perspective. People live in
Right,
all different
exactly.
facets of this town, and not everyone's, vision or neighborhood is exactly the same, and how they feel about Clinton is centered around that, is centered around their own experience. And so the more experiences, the more input we get, I think the stronger we are. And so I'll charrette all around, so you just let me know.
One thing I'd like to add to it that I skipped before is that Abby and staff are meeting with a bunch of different groups and organizations throughout the town on a regular basis now coming up, and we'll get a lot more input that way. One of the subjects that came up too was linking the harbor with downtown. and
Yes.
promote those.
Beautiful, beautiful. Harbor, breathe.
Okay, I'm gonna move to foreshore coastal resiliency plan update.
Yep, so this is for folks, the plan is out, so the final draft of the plan is available for you to take a look at. If you go onto the town website to the Coastal Resiliency Task Force, we have that boards and commissions section on our page. Go to Coastal Resiliency, Lori just put up this morning the link to the plan, you can get to it, take a look, it's in 2 parts because it's big. One is the plan, one is the appendices, and there are particular pieces, so it'll give you sort of a summary of the issue, it'll give you the technical data on the modeling that was done. But then it gets into recommendations, so sort of an assessment of Clinton's issues, and then some recommendations for broad actions that we should be considering in the future. So it's something definitely to take a look at. It's nothing, this is not an engineering level plan. This is really just sort of, here's a series of tools and places that you might consider applying them, how they come together, those kinds of things. elements of this are being woven into the discussion, for the P O C D, and our consultant is well aware of this plan, so all of that is going on. So that's coming, so just be aware, and then February 26th in this room at 6:30 PM, the consultants will be here to present the plan, to have questions answered, all that kind of stuff, so people are more than welcome to be here. There will have it on Zoom for folks if they need to attend virtually, but we're really hoping to get folks in the room to the extent that we can. And then that project is wrapping up, and so that'll kind of free up some time for the next one, so.
What time is that?
6:30.
6:30.
Thank you. Okay, next correspondence and bills. Did we have anything?
No, I have some bills that I'll bring forward just to let you know kind of where we stand with the GIS funding and stuff that's in our budget. That's really the big driver of professional services for budget. And then I can give you an update at the next meeting on where we are with the P O C D. They were gonna get some more billing in for the March meeting, but other than that, that's all sort of within where we should be at this point in the project. So that's coming. For correspondence, the only thing that did come in, Kathy forwarded to me, Yukon Clear has the land use basics training coming up, so we'll email that out to everybody. That came in today. If anybody else is interested in taking the Connecticut Bar Association online class in March 22nd, Saturday, but that's something that, you know, if there are folks who basically, we budget about $50 a person per year. Some classes are a little more, some are a little bit less, but if you haven't sort of used your training allotment, we want to make sure we're helping to get you to meet those training requirements if you haven't done it yet.
Did you get my information yet?
Yeah, I talked to Lori, I told you I would follow up.
Yeah, I know, but I never got any information.
Right, we're still, I'm looking through everything to see what I can find where you're at.
Some of the stuff, some people's training days, because people have been on for a little while, some of their credits have fallen off in the new year, and so we have to do a new sort of add up of where everybody is right now. So, so that's coming, we'll have that for the March meeting, because our reporting is March 1st for the town council, so that's.
So does the bar training cover the clear training? 'Cause I went to Yukon Clear last year. So does that cover some of those hours or no?
It will, I think it's in the 3-hour range, but I think it's only half an hour of the fair and affordable housing, so it's not the full hour of fair and affordable housing. We have talked, so I was also looking at opportunities to bring this group and the zoning board of appeals together since they have to get the training as
Right.
well, to see if we can just do something in-house that would qualify, or sign up for like an online thing that we pay for and download as a town, and then, you know, get some popcorn and then off we go. So we'll talk about that as well. So if folks are having a hard time getting their credits once you have your totals, we'll make sure everybody gets up to speed.
And
You have that beer and pop.
Yeah,
You
Yukon
get
Clear
the
is, I think,
attendees.
April 26th, I believe that's the date, and I think it's 9 to 1. The other one, Connecticut Bar, is March 22nd, and that one's 9 to 4:30, but you don't have to do the whole thing because, you know, different sections apply to different commissions. They have wetlands, Ps, CBA, planning, zoning, so it, you know, it's broken up.
You can clear, you can go on that Yukon Clear, they got a lot.
Yep.
There's so many, they offer so many, like I drove up to Norwich, it was great, I mean, there's so many people from all over the state there, and you learn so much about 830G, you learn so much, you know, and I advise everybody to jump in, you know, go into these classes, or you could do it online.
Just make sure you send us a certification, a statement. So for example, not all classes send you a certificate
Yeah,
that
they
you
do.
completed it.
They will.
So the clear ones do, but not everything that's out there that you may want to ask if you can get credit for is something that's going to give you a certificate. You can also say, I attest that I attended of the Bar Association, I attended the following sessions in full, right? We need something from you saying, this is proof that I was there and that we've completed this requirement, so we can kind of compile that and have it for reporting.
Thank you.
Okay, now to adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Yes, I'll second it.
You
Second.
You got a second? Okay.
Bye, Mike.
Bye.
Short,
Bye.
opposed, staying, motion carries. We're adjourned at 7:48.
Sir?
Oh, you're a good boy. I was gonna say that. I was gonna see you.